Hurricane fallout has exposed the Biden-Harris administration's incompetence and refusal to put America first. Biden-Harris sending aid to Ukraine. Biden-Harris sending aid to North Carolina. How much have we given to Ukraine? I don't know if we have a final number. It's ongoing, right?
FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met.
$750 is laughable. And that Kamala Harris says it with such pride is sickening. There are a few rumors going around about the $750. It is not a loan. It does not need to be paid back to the government. It's considered a grant. Now, you would need to pay it back if your insurance ends up covering something you've already paid for. FEMA is also claiming that there's more funds to come, and this is just an immediate relief payment. But Fox News just exposed that FEMA is withholding billions of dollars of relief funds.
So another controversy to unfold yesterday during the press briefing. The White House is having a very difficult time answering why they can pledge millions of dollars to aid in Lebanon while Americans are still struggling to recover from Hurricane Helene.
It's an important question. Brooke Singman here with more. Brooke.
Yeah, guys, it is. So the White House is facing serious questions about their priorities after Vice President Kamala Harris pledged to send $157 million of additional assistance to Lebanon an hour before she pledged $100 million to aid in North Carolina. Watch this.
President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation. What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants. Thanks, everybody.
North Carolina residents are pleading for more assistance from the government to help them recover from Hurricane Helene.
A daughter whose house got completely wiped out. She has no flood insurance, meets with a FEMA person, applies for everything she doesn't get the $750 that Kamala says that she's supposed to get, gets approved for $300 for personal items. What is that going to do?
Yeah, you only get the $750 if you qualify.
Where are you? These people have lost their homes, they've lost their businesses, they've lost everything, and they need some support. They need help. And $750 is not much help.
It's just horrible. So the FEMA administrator confirming to Fox News that the agency does not have enough funds to last beyond immediate needs.
We don't have enough money to continue throughout the rest of the year. And we went into immediate needs funding earlier in the year to make sure we could do just what we've been doing through Helene, as well as now the preparations for Milton.
While FEMA says they are running out of funds, a DHS Inspector General report finds that FEMA had $8.3 billion in unliquidated funds meant to relieve declared disasters from 2012 or earlier. More than $7 billion of that could potentially be returned to the Disaster Relief Fund. But analysts say FEMA cannot tap into unspent funds from long ago crises, so the money stays frozen.
That's okay. Biden sent all our money to Ukraine. No biggie. Say what you will about The Rock and Oprah's People's Fund of Maui, the Hawaiian Relief Fund, but more than 8,100 Hawaiian residents receive monthly disbursements of $1,200, with nearly $80 million distributed to the people of Maui. $1,200 monthly, and this was not government raised. Yeah, it's hard to swallow that they're out-of-touch celebrities, but at least they were able to do more than the government. Not only is the government withholding relief funds, withholding troops to go out and help with disaster relief, cleanup, saving lives, civilians are not being allowed to aid as well. You've probably heard about the civilian helicopter pilot who was helping rescue stranded hurricane victims and how he's threatened with arrest by the local fire chief if he didn't stand down. As a former volunteer firefighter, this made my blood boil. Across the nation, almost 70% of firefighters are volunteer. According to FEMA and the government registry in North Carolina, 87% of firefighters are volunteer. This fire chief was having a complete ego trip, turning away aid, when most of the firefighters in the state are volunteer. If I were him, I would have coordinated with the pilot, gotten him on comms, making sure that we're not taking up airspace. JD Vance also spoke about recent relief efforts.
Well, look, I certainly hope that FEMA and the federal government will give additional resources to people. They deserve it. But I don't think it's at all a problem to point out that it's insulting for people who have lost their homes and nearly everything to have somebody swoop in and talk about $750 like that's a big sum of money. I certainly hope more comes from it. But the criticism of Kamala Harris there is have some self-awareness. Recognize that people have lost everything and don't just drop in and say $750 like it's a big deal. Promise people that you're going to help them rebuild. I think a lot of this is a failure of leadership. It's a failure of showing up. It's a failure of, I'm going to show up in your town after you've lost everything and promise you $750, or a hurricane has destroyed your entire community and the president's going to sit on a beach and Kamala Harris is going to do a San Francisco fundraiser. That is the opposite of leadership. I think so much when I've visited, obviously, southwestern Virginia, which was terribly affected by the storms, a lot of what people want is just a recognition that their leaders actually care for them. When you won't even cancel a fundraiser to show up, it doesn't suggest that you care about people.
Hurricane Milton will hit Florida this week. Let's see how Governor Ron DeSantis is preparing, how a true and competent leader is preparing for the storm.
So there's a lot going on. And oh, by the way, we just had a Category 4 storm impact a lot of people up the west coast of Florida. One of the issues that we saw in places like the Pinellas County beaches and Manatee County beaches was there was a lot of debris, and these local governments have to pick it up. They have contractors that do it, but it wasn't being done fast enough. So I did this weekend. I took all of our state agencies, any truck we had anywhere in the state who's involved in normal missions, we diverted it over to those barrier islands. We're doing a 24/7 debris mission. So we've been able in 48 hours with our state assets be able to do as much debris removal as any of the contractors who've been doing this for almost 2 weeks. Wow. We actually had to pry open one of the landfills in Pinellas County because it wasn't operating 24/7 as my executive order did. But we've made a big dent in that. And the issue is if you have this debris laying out, it could become projectiles. And then with the storm surge, it creates more damage. So it's very difficult. We're going to get hit basically 2 weeks on the dot from getting hit by Helene, but we felt it was important that we did that. We also have now close to 40,000 utility linemen in the state of Florida are en route. And remember, there's a lot of these workers that are still in Georgia and North Carolina and those places. We've had to bring them in all the way from California. So they're going to be ready to do the power restoration mission. And then we'll have 8,000 Florida National Guard when the storm hits. All our urban search and rescue, our Florida State Guard, Fish and Wildlife, all that will be there, ready to go. So we're prepared for this. This is not easy. I think it's been very taxing on our citizens to have to go through this. Just as you're starting to pick up the pieces from Helene, now you see another monster storm bearing down. But we'll get through this.
This is the difference between governors in Florida and California, Republican, Democrat. In California, you have Gavin Newsom signing bills about AI not being used in political videos, signing bills that voter identification is not required at voting booths. It begs the question, which party would you want in office if your state was facing a natural disaster like this?
Governor, I know Kamala Harris called you selfish. She said she's tried to contact you to talk to you about hurricane relief. Well, we don't have the sound, but she said, you know, moment of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone calls himself a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now and playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations. These are the height of emergency situations. It's just utterly irresponsible, and it's selfish, and it's about political gamemanship. What's your response?
Well, I think she should look in the mirror. We've been on an emergency footing for 2 weeks straight, round the clock, 24/7. We've been working, my office, our Division of Emergency Management, helping people prepare for Hurricane Helene, helping effectuate rescues of people after Hurricane Helene, helping people pick up the pieces of their lives after Helene, and then have to also turn around and prepare for major impacts and maybe even more impacts.
Ron, where are you? I'm at a fundraiser and Biden's at the beach, but we have to do this big photo op to make it look like I give a shit.
From Hurricane Milton, be able to have rescue personnel ready to help people, and then, of course, help with the power restoration, all these things to do. So that's been my sole focus. My focus has not been on dealing with Kamala Harris. I saw the news report. I didn't know she tried to contact me. But I'd also say it's not about you, Kamala.
Right.
It's about the people of Florida. My focus is exactly where it should be. And I can tell you this, I've worked on these hurricanes under both President Trump and President Biden. Neither of them ever tried to politicize it. She has never called on any of the storms we've had since she's been vice president until apparently now. Why all of a sudden is she trying to parachute in and inject herself when she's never shown any interest in the past? We know it's because of politics. We know it's because of her campaign. I have zero time to entertain these political games. We're going to continue to do what we need to do to prepare and respond to what may be one of the most damaging storms in the history of the United States. So she says focusing on protecting your people is selfish. I think she ought to look in the mirror.
And right now, Governor, just to conclude, you have what you need from the federal government, as well as you feel like you have the resources in place. Is that correct?
Every request we've made, and I've been in contact with the president, I've been in contact with the FEMA director. You know, it's interesting. Harris is not even in the chain of command.
Yeah, what is she
has
even
no
doing?
role in this. I mean, the idea that I should be like worrying about her when I'm focused on the task at hand is just, quite frankly, absurd. So yes, all of our requests have been answered. We have marshaled all state resources that are available to us. It's going to be a very robust response, but it's going to be a lot of damage, and we're bracing for that. I'd ask everyone to keep us in your prayers. We know we're going to get hit, but hopefully we can pray that this storm will weaken and do the least amount of damage possible.
All right,
Absolutely.
Governor.
Great
job out there.
Best. Anyway, how do you think the storm response has been thus far through the Biden, and I say Biden in quotations because he's checked out, through the Biden-Harris administration? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to Conservative Vibes. I'm CV, and I'll see you in the next video.